Wednesday night, as I get ready to go to bed, I see Matteo Bertoli post about Nikon buying red, and it didn't look real to me. It looked fake. I go to Nikon's website. I didn't see anything because it's not on the front cover. I go to Red's website. Doesn't have any mention of it. So I was like, okay, is this even real? I don't even know. So I go to bed. I wake up in the morning and it's easier to find like the press release and everything. I was like, oh wow. So this is real. This really happened. Red sold to Nikon. So let me give you a little background about me. About 10 or so years ago, I was teaching, maybe not quite that long ago, I was teaching high school. I was in charge of a yearbook program, and we had Nikon cameras, old consumer Nikon cameras. So we had like the D3100, D3200, and we had a couple of zoom lenses. Nothing really great or whatever, but that was my first experience with Nikon cameras. They were able to do video at the time, 1080p video, but the image, it looked good. It was a good looking image. Consumer level camera. Take great pictures. We were able to use it, get everything that we needed out of it for a very, very affordable price. I've never been able to use a red. That's always been out of my budget. So I don't have experience doing that. But as I heard that this was real, I started to think, okay, what does this mean? And a lot of people have thought about that. Then I started to think, okay, what would I like to happen? And a lot of people have been thinking about that too. So I started to come up with my wish list for what I want to happen from this big shakeup in the filmmaking industry, right? So obviously you have Arri. Arri's up here. There's no news about Arri trying to sell to anyone. Arri's always kind of gone at their own pace. They do their own thing. They don't really care what's going on. They're going to spend, years and years and years developing a sensor, and Hollywood's going to continue to use their products because it produces a beautiful image. And you have Red on the side over here that has been the scrappy upstart over the past almost 20 years. And they've pushed themselves into the market. A lot of companies like to use them, especially when they're doing the special effects work. So like James Gunn, he's going to go make a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. He's going to shoot on Red. And there's a lot of other projects that have shot on Red too. It's Netflix approved. A lot of people shoot on Red. And then you have Sony pushing in with the Venice line of cameras, and even with like the FX3 on the Creator. Like they're pushing into that market with their Cine line of cameras. Then somewhere below that, you have Canon for like doc work, and then you have the upstarts like me, who are using whatever they can get their hands on. This is a Blackmagic camera I'm shooting on right now. I really love the image on Blackmagic. I really love editing B-raw. But the big boys aren't using that. The big boys are using Arri, maybe Red, or they're just shooting film. Christopher Nolan's going to go shoot IMAX or something like that. So what is this Nikon jumping into the conversation? What's that going to do? Well, what a lot of people are hoping is that they're going to loosen their grip on Red's patent about internal RAW recording, right? So right now, I don't know if my Atomus is in grip, right, within reach right now. Right now, if you want to record a RAW codec internally, you basically have to pay Red because they have the patent on that. The way Blackmagic was able to do it is they changed the technology, so it's not working exactly in the way that that Red's patent describes, and so they're able to get with a semi-compressed RAW codec, and that's how you get like ProRes RAW and other things like that. They're doing something to kind of get around it a little bit. Excuse me. But for the most part, to get RAW, you have to use an external recorder because that bypasses this patent. That's my understanding. Apologize if I'm wrong. So Nikon went ahead and just put it into one of their cameras, and then they waited for Red to sue them, and Red sued them. They went to court, and in the end, they kind of agreed to disagree. Nikon kept being able to use their RAW codec the way that they wanted, and Red just, kind of walked away. And then here we are a year later, and now Nikon owns Red. So, is there some connection there? We don't know yet. We can speculate, but, something happened. There's some sort of conversation. Maybe conversation started all the way back then, and it just took them a year for them to finalize everything. In the meantime, both have been able to continue to develop products. Nikon's doing even better with video, and of course, Red has just released their new global shutter, 8K on the V Raptor X, and it's an incredible camera. Out of my price range at $30,000, but an incredible camera. So, what does it mean now that they are the same company? Well, first of all, I think for Red doesn't have to worry about capital. Red can get an infusion of capital and more people to work towards R&D. A number that everyone is bringing up because it's in the press release. Nikon's a company that has about 20,000 people. Red is a company that has just over 200 people. It's like 1% of this. I mean, is that less than 1%? It's less than 1% of the size. It's so small compared to Nikon. Any help would really help Red to iterate and to develop even faster. We get the expertise from manufacturing, and there's that. So this could be really helpful for Red. Plus, Red in the past couple of years have been playing nice with everybody. They're starting to work with other manufacturers more. They're starting to loosen their grip on things a little bit. They're working with Angelbird, and they're working with Small HD, and they're working with others because they realize they can't do it all on their own. And so with that explanation, them selling to Nikon seems like an extension of this thought process that we've heard Jared explain, which I think is great. That's great. And I think that's good. I'd never thought that I'd ever be able to shoot on Red until they came out with the Komodo. That $6,000 price range starts to push it down to like, ooh, we're not that far off from where I'm at. And I would still love to be able to shoot on Red. Everyone says it's great to edit on. If it's even better than B-RAW, which I love to edit on, then it's something I'd love to be able to do at some point. So, my experience with Nikon, my hopes and dreams and understanding of Red, what would I like for them to make? So this is what I'm thinking. First off, I don't know that Nikon wants to get rid of the Z line of cameras. It's their full frame, mirrorless line of shooter cameras that can also do, 8K video. I think if Nikon wants to keep that, and if Red doesn't want to push down into that market, I assume Red wants to stay up higher. They want to be premium cameras. They don't want to become prosumer cameras. So if that's the case, and not that $6,000, $5,000, $4,000 is, super affordable, but it's not, it's lower indie budget. It's not, James Gunn budget. Okay, so what I would like to see is I would like for Nikon to start using the Red brand for all video products. Not meaning that they rename the camera the Z, Red Komodo or whatever. Not that, but that they push Red's the R3D codec capability into Nikon. And so they brand it, the Z9 with Red or something like that. And they just refer to the video features as a Red feature. And it's not some abbreviated version of it. It's legit Red, color science or whatever. And so you can take your stills and then you can go shoot, Red compressed. I would love to see something like that happen. And maybe that's what they do with their like $3, $4, $5, $6,000 line of products. That's what I want to see Nikon do. What I want to happen for Red cameras is I want to see Nikon help them out with autofocus, and I want to see them help them out with lenses. Nikon makes great lenses, and I would love to see them work together to develop a cinema line of products. Now, Red would probably love to just work on making premium cameras. But if Nikon wants to make their money back, I think they need to not shoot for, $20,000 lenses, but bring it down into the, maybe the price point of like Canon's Cine line, develop that with Red. And so it's a Nikkor lens developed with Red. So like Nikkor lens, Nikkor Red, Pro Prime or whatever they want to call it. I would love to see their Cine line and then just go full future on it. Make it an autofocus Cine line, whatever that might look like. I think that's something Nikon might be interested in that would really help Red. So Red gets great autofocus, Red gets great glass. Now Red can start making some more money because they don't necessarily have to cater to a less expensive market, but they can benefit from the fact that Nikon is there. Nikon can make some money. They can use the Red brand. They can use Red's expertise and R&D, and they develop great products. And they can kind of help each other out. So this is what I'd love. Nikon, introduce their Red codec into their, top of the line shooter video cameras, and then Red get autofocus and glass from Nikon. That's what I'd love to see, because this is what I think would happen. If Red is, say they make a new version of their $6,000 Voxy Komodo type camera with autofocus, it's now going to compete in the terrain of like an FX6 with Sony, except it's shooting on Red. So I think that instantly becomes a killer dock camera, a killer commercial camera, a killer gimbal camera. Not that these things aren't already, but the market that Sony is getting, because they iterate fast and they've kind of found a nice niche, that market is instantly threatened by this new Nikon Red collaboration. And I would love to be able to get a great dock camera with autofocus that's shooting on a Red codec. That would be a killer camera. Small indies like me, obviously it's helpful for us to do something like that, and you get a great image. I don't need 20 stops of dynamic range that you're getting out of this extended version of the V Raptor X, which would be incredible. But I think my next camera is probably in about that $6,000 range. I think that's a nice sweet spot. It's expensive enough that it's not a consumer product. It's less expensive enough that it's entry level professional products, but it can have all the I/O that we need. I think that'd be a pretty great camera. What I also would love, if that happens, I think it forces Canon to take things a little more seriously. Sony is kind of found their nice niche. They iterate fast. They make a billion versions of an idea, and they're cleaning house, and they're doing really well. Canon is able to have really good color science, and so they have some consistent users that really like that. If Nikon is able to push something down into that market, there's a Z9, a Z whatever, fill in the blank, that can shoot on Red, it instantly threatens what Canon is doing, and Canon may have to reevaluate their Cine line, and then that helps everybody. everything becomes a little more competitive, and competitive helps us, the users. So these are just my immediate thoughts a couple days into this whole process. I obviously have no inside knowledge. I don't know what you think, what you want, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens. Obviously, we're probably a couple years out from seeing the fruits of this, but it's going to be exciting. What do you think? What would you like to see from Red and from Nikon, and maybe the other companies as well? Love to hear what you think. Let's talk about it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.